A Wedding Chest by Vernon Lee. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information and to find out how you can volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. A Wedding Chest by Vernon Lee. Number 428. A panel, 5 feet by 2 feet 3 inches. Formerly the front of a cassone or coffer, intended to contain the garments and jewels of a bride. Subject: The Triumph of Love, Umbrian school of the 15th century. In the right-hand corner is a half-effaced inscription: Desider something, de civitate lac something, me something essit. This valuable painting is unfortunately much damaged by damp and mineral corrosives, owing probably to its having contained at one time buried treasure. Bequeathed in 1878 by the widow of the Reverend Lawson Stone, late Fellow of Trinity College, Cambridge. Footnote: Catalogue of the Smith Museum, Leeds. By Ascension Day, Desiderio of Castiglione del Lago had finished the front panel of the wedding chest which Messer Troilo Baglioni had ordered of Sir Piero Bontempi, whose shop was situated at the bottom of the steps of St. Maxentius, in that portion of the ancient city of Perugia, called by the Romans Augusta in recognition of its great glory, which takes its name from the Ivory Gate, built by Theodoric, king of the Goths. The said Desiderio had represented upon this panel the triumph of love, as described in his poem by Messer Francesco Petrarca of Arezzo, certainly with the exception of that Dante, who saw the vision of hell, purgatory, and paradise, the only poet of recent times who can be compared to those doctissimi viri, professors of life, P. Virgilius, Ovidius of Sulmona, and Statius. And the said Desiderio had betaken himself in this manner. He had divided the panel into 4 portions or regions, intended to represent the 4 phases of amorous passion. The first was a pleasant country, abundantly watered with twisting streams, of great plenty and joyousness, in which were planted many hedges of fragrant roses, both red and blue, together with elms, poplars, and other pleasant and profitable trees. The second region was somewhat mountainous, but showing large store of lordly castles and thickets of pine and oak, fit for hunting, which region, as being that of glorious love, was girt all round with groves of laurels. The third region, aspera ac dura region, harsh and hard region, was barren of all vegetation save huge thorns and ungrateful thistles, and in it, on rocks, was shown the pelican who tears his own entrails to feed his young, symbolical of the cruelty of love to true lovers. Finally, the fourth region was a melancholy cypress wood, among which roosted owls and ravens and other birds of ill omen, in order to display the fact that all earthly love leads to death. Each of these regions was surrounded by a wreath of myrtles, marvellously drawn, with great subtlety of invention, divided so as to meet the carved and gilded cornice, likewise composed of myrtles, which Sir Piero executed with singular skill with his own hand. In the middle of the panel Desiderio had represented love, even as the poet has described, a naked youth, with wings of wondrous changing colours, enthroned upon a chariot, the axle and wheels of which were red gold, and covered with a cloth of gold of such subtle device that that whole chariot seemed really to be on fire. On his back hung a bow, and a quiver full of dreadful arrows, and in his hands he held the reins of 4 snow-white coursers, trapped with gold, and breathing fire from their nostrils. Round his eyes was bound a kerchief fringed with gold, to show that love strikes blindly. And from his shoulders floated a scroll inscribed with the words Sivus amor hominum deorumque delicia, savage love, the darling of men and gods. Round his car, some before, some behind, some on horseback, some on foot, crowded those who have been famous for their love. Here you might see, on a bay horse with an eagle on his helmet, Julius Caesar, who loved Cleopatra, the queen of Egypt; Sophonisba and Massicina, in rich and strange Arabian garments; Orpheus, seeking for Eurydice with his lute; Phaedra, who died for love of Hippolytus, her stepson; Mark Antony, Rinaldo of Montalbano, who loved the beautiful Angelica; Socrates, Tibullus, Virgilius, and other poets; with Messer Francesco Petrarca and Messer Giovanni Boccaccio; Tristram, who drank the love potion, riding on a sorrel horse; and near him Isotta, wearing a turban of cloth of gold, and these lovers of Rimini, and many more besides, the naming of whom would be too long, even as the poet has described. And in the region of happy love, among the laurels, he had painted his own likeness, red-haired, with a green hood falling on his shoulders; and this because he was to wed, next St. John's Eve, Maddalena, the only daughter of his employer, Ser Piero. And among the unhappy lovers he painted, at his request, Messer Troilo himself, for whom he was making this coffer. And Messer Troilo was depicted in the character of Troilus, the son of Priam, emperor of Troy. He was habited in armour, covered with a surcoat of white cloth of silver, embroidered with roses. By his side was his lance, and on his head a scarlet cap. Behind him were those who carried his falcon and led his hack, and men-at-arms with his banner, dressed in green and yellow, parti-coloured, with a scorpion embroidered on their doublet. And from his lance floated a pennon inscribed Troilus sum servus amoris. I am Troilus, the slave of love. But Desiderio refused to paint among the procession Monna Maddalena, Piero's daughter, who was to be his wife, because he declared it was not fit that modest damsels should lend their face to other folk; and this he said because Ser Piero had begged him not to incense Messer Troilo, for in reality he had often portrayed Monna Maddalena, the which was marvellously lovely, though only, it is true, in the figure of Our Lady the Mother of God. And the panel was ready by Ascension Day, and Ser Piero had prepared the box, and the carvings and gildings, griffins and chimeras, and acanthus leaves and myrtles, with the arms of Messer Troilo Baglioni, a most beautiful work. And Mastro Cavana, of the gate of St. Peter, had made a lock and key of marvellous workmanship for the same coffer. And Messer Troilo would come frequently, riding over from his castle of Fratta, and see the work while it was progressing, and entertain himself lengthily at the shop, speaking with benignity and wisdom wonderful in one so young, for he was